What were you doing in East Anglia?
Jeff was stationed down there,
Right.
and we were down there, a place called Yoxford, and that was in 1943. We were down there, but before that we were up in Keighley. He was stationed there, so I was there with Pete as a baby.
So how close to the RAF stations were you?
Well, 1940, I was down in Essex before I had children, and it was the Battle of Britain time, really, and the bombers used to come over, and we had a lot of bombs sort of all around us, really.
In Essex?
In Essex, yes.
Was grandfather stationed down there as well? Or?
Yes, he was at Earl's Cone, a place called Earl's Cone, and we were billeted. He was billeted, and the person that the place belonged to said that I could come because he went down there with his regiment after he'd been at Sandhurst. And so I went down there before I had any children, and stayed in the house, and she had about 4 of the officers from the regiment in there, in that house. And she also owned a lovely herd of Jersey cows.
Yes.
And anyhow, everybody had to do something. So I delivered the milk in the village down there.
How did you deliver the milk?
In a thing that sort of was on a battery. It sort of jumped, and you never quite knew if you had it in control or you didn't.
A milk float?
Yes.
So were you delivering it in bottles or?
In bottles, yes.
Right.
But it was all milked on her herd of from the herd of Jersey cows, and she was half German origin. And I remember one night, old Jerry came over, because they used to come over, and Jeff always said the ones that were too windy to go to London just dropped their bombs on our city, which they had. They dropped 5 bombs, and if there'd been 6, it would have been on the house. So, you know, just a miss is as good as a mile, really. But the extraordinary thing was, Sam, that this last bomb was very close to the house. And we wondered if the old lady was okay, and her room was next to ours. So Jeff said, I think we'd better go and see that she's okay. And by then they'd gone. You could hear that the planes had gone. And she had all the lights on, and she was out the window, looking out the window with the blackout and the curtain and the light on, looking out the window. And anyhow, we were a bit horrified, really. And we really didn't know what to do about it. And the next day we said something to her about it, and she completely denied it. Anyhow, we were actually moved over to Banbury the next, that was on the Saturday, and Monday they had to move over to, the whole regiment moved over to Banbury, so we did nothing about it. but it was. I don't know to this
Whether
day.
she was signalling. Yeah.
I don't know. To this day, I don't know.
No.
But she's the one. You know the urn that's in the copper urn.
Oh yes.
Well, she gave me that.
Oh,
She said,
wow.
"Well, I'd like you to have anything you like from the house," and I chose that. And when we moved, I took that with me, and it's always gone wherever we've gone. We've taken the copper urn,
Yeah.
and that's where it came from.
Good heavens.
Miss Stangley, she was called. But it just, I'm remembering all these peculiar things to remember.
So how many times did grandfather move around?
Oh, countless.
And it was all training.
Yes, all training. And he just left Sandhurst then. And yes, I met him after he'd finished at Sandhurst and got his commission, and to go in as second lieutenant to the regiment, 4th, 7th Dragoon Guards. And I met him in London, and we had 10 days leave. And he'd bought a car for £5, and it was a Renault, and the brakes, you either put them on or you put them off, and it was really highly unsafe, crazy, really.
So where did he drive you?
Well, we decided it was going to be our honeymoon because we had a delayed honeymoon. We'd been married in June, but he only had 48 hours leave, so it was going to be our honeymoon. So we decided we'd stay overnight at the Dorchester, and
Lovely.
so we stayed overnight at the Dorchester. And I remember we had one night there. And we had, I think we had £50 between us.
Yeah. Well, if you can't spend your money, then what
And,
can you do?
Anyhow, I remember in the Dorchester, when you opened the door, the light came on in the wardrobe thing. So we were absolutely intrigued by this. Never seen anything like that before. And then Lou Stone and his band were playing in the orchestra, and there was a dinner dance there. Well, we couldn't afford the dinner, but we'd love to go dancing. So we decided we'd go and we'd order. We'd order just something so that we could go into the dining room and dance, really. Which we did. But unfortunately, we found out later that we had to pay for the whole dinner, so
Oh no!
which was rather a blow. But it took a lot of the money. And then off we went with our...
Well, did you get your dance? Did you get
Yes,
your dance?
Yes, and Lou Stone's band.
Lovely.
Just very much 40s band.
Yes.
La, la, just like the Glenn Miller ones,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
But it was one night at the Dorchester.
Well, there we go. It was memorable.
Yes. And then we proceeded up that west coast to the lakes, because we decided we'd go up to the lakes.
In the Citroen. In the Renault.
In the Renault.
Yes.
Yes. They were amazing times. Anyhow, in the end, we had to pay somebody £5 to take it away. And then we didn't have a car for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And we just got a car when we both got polio, you know,
Right.
10 years later.
So in Maidenhead.
Mm. And I used to do everything with the prams and go shopping and pile the shop up and pile the children in. And yes, and I kept within my budget, which is not very much. And I remember Barclays Bank ringing me up and saying I was overdrawn by 17 and sixpence.
Which was quite a lot in those days.
Yeah, I rushed down and I don't quite know how I did pay it, but I did pay it. So I was never really overdrawn there. And the only thing that we ever had on the Never Never was we didn't have a fridge. We couldn't afford to buy a fridge, so we put it. They had a scheme you could put it so much onto your electric bill, so that you could get something, and so that's the way we got the fridge.
Right.
By paying so much out of the
And then paying it back through the electricity bill.
yeah, just a percentage onto that.
Yes.
And we got a great industrial fridge there, which we had for years. But that's the only thing we ever had on the Never Never, shall we say.
And that kept the family going.
Yes. And really, in the south, you had to have a fridge because of the milk and things.
Yes. Yeah.
And
How did the family keep going, Granny, when both you and grandfather had polio?
well, yes, we had a Swedish au pair, and she was the first one to get it. And I nursed her, looked after her. They didn't know it was polio then. There was a lot of polio going around, and old the old Baroness husband, her first husband, died with it 3 weeks before Jeff actually got it.
Right.
And they'd been swimming in the Thames and things.
Right. Together.
Well, Jeff and the family, and
Yes.
and this girl, and she got it, and then I got it, but it wasn't diagnosed as polio. They kept testing and things, but you see, there's so many different ways of. Now they take something from the backbone there
Yes.
and test that.
Find the virus. Yeah.
Yes. But they didn't know that, and then when I got it, I couldn't look after the children.
No.
And so my cousin Margot, that's Sam,
Right.
young daughter,
Yes.
sister in fact,
Yes.
Margot, she came down and helped Jeff with the children. And both the children, both Gar and Sam, had mild sort of cold-like things,
Yes.
and which possibly was the same bug, but it wasn't anything very bad. And yes, but I couldn't do very much at all.
No.
Because and so Jeff decided it was better that he took me up in the train
Mm.
to his father's
Mm.
house, where they had a couple of maids still,
Mm.
Dr. Gilbertson
In Roker.
in Roker, and I was there for about 6 weeks,
Right.
getting over it, and by
Left
this time,
the children behind.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I couldn't look
Yeah.
after the children,
Mm.
and anyhow, just I was well enough to travel down south again,
Mm.
and they put me on the train, and they were going to meet me. Margot and Jeff were going to meet me in London,
Mm.
and when I got to King's Cross, there was a message on the microphone saying,
Yes.
would I go to the station master's office?
Yes.
The station master said that your husband is ill, and would I just take a taxi and take a train and go down to Maidenhead,
Right.
which I did. And when I got there, there was nobody there to meet me or anything.
No.
I got another taxi up to the house, and Jeff was in bed, and Margot was sort of coping,
Mm.
and yes, and anyhow, I took over, and I was up pretty well all night
Yeah.
with him. He was pretty ill. At 8 o'clock in the next morning, before then, I'd said, you know, he was very high temperature he had. Sit in the chair and I'll make the bed up with
Mm.
the dry sheets and everything. And he said, well, I can't move. And at that point I realized that he had polio.
Yeah.
And I rang the doctors, and I said, I think he's got polio. And they came along and confirmed that he had, and he'd have to go to an isolation hospital. And the ambulance came and took him to the isolation hospital. And he was there for 6 weeks in that hospital. And then he went from there, he went to the Taplow Canadian Red Cross Hospital. He was there for 6 weeks. And then Dr. Gilbertson said, you know, it's much better if he goes to the Wingfield. They had this heated pool and everything,
Yes.
and he could get that. That's the only.
And he was eligible as an ex-serviceman. Was that or
No, we had to pay for it.
right?
But we couldn't pay for it. Dr. Gilbertson
Yes.
paid, and Liz paid.
Right.
Liz
Yes.
paid to the doctor.
Yes.
And so he was taken there, plus his special bed, which especially long. And but at one point they thought he'd have to go into an iron lung. They had that standing by.
Yeah.
But in fact, he didn't ever go into the iron lung.
Right.
Yeah. But he was terribly ill. Terribly ill. And
So the whole family sort of pulled together, and everybody helped in whatever way they could.
everybody helped, which was amazing. Quite amazing, really. And also Jeff's friends helped. You know, Peter Bell was invaluable, really, to help. And there was another one, Johnny Whitehorn. He was marvellous to me, because times he was incredibly ill and really suffering after he got to Oxford
Yeah.
from depression, really, dreadfully ill. And
Just
he
the
had-
implications of it sinking in. I
Yes,
suppose. Yeah.
and he had pneumonia that year too, and amazing that he survived, really. And having survived the war, it was such an extraordinary thing to happen, you know.
I know.
Anyhow, I used to go from Maidenhead to Oxford to see him every day. And I had this Austrian au pair whose fiancé had been killed on the Russian front.
Mm.
And she was very bitter. She looked after. She was very capable and looked after the children while I went and. But I really thought I was going mad at one point. But I told you, the Holy Ghost came along and helped me.
Pulled you through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just out of the blue. I don't know what it was, but I was...
Found the strength.
What?
Found the strength.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. To this day, I don't know what it was, but I reckon I wasn't going mad, so
No.
I was going to be able to cope for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Extraordinary times, Granny.
Yes. But it came to me because Mary Hall had come back from New Zealand and she came to see us in Oxford and she realised I was really on the bottom. I suppose I was having a breakdown of such or whatever you call it, and she said, I'm taking you back to the lakes, I'm going tomorrow. And so I went back, she packed my bag for me and I left the children with the Callards next door.
Right,
They were very,
yes.
and they kept an eye on the au pair and off I went. And it was when I was up there in the Langdale where Uncle Harry, Mary's father, was vicar. We'd gone, and I was sitting in the church at the foot of the Langdale there, chapel style church, and I've got a picture of it over there, and that's where I knew that I was going to be able to cope, and this nothing tangible. I knew when I came out of that church that I wasn't going mad. But it's an awful feeling. I couldn't read the page of a book and knew what I was talking about, or take it in.
No.
Most extraordinary experience. So I
Granny.
keep that. It's a picture of it over there.
Where is it?
It's at the back there.
Oh, on the...
Yes. Chapel style church.
That one there.
Yeah.
Langdale Parish Church. Yeah.
Went on D-Day. Jeff decided that it was time I went north because I'd left Pete behind, And so he took me to the ferry, and we went from Fawley, where they were stationed, and I was in bed and breakfast there, just to be with him, really. And we went on the ferry to Southampton, where I got the train north. And then 5 days later, they sailed.
And that was the ferry. Where did the ferry go?
It went from Fawley across Southampton Water, backwards and forwards.
And were you directed not to look at things, or?
Not directed at all, but on the railway carriage it said, "Beware, walls have ears." Nobody talked about anything.
And what did you see on Southampton Water?
The lumps of concrete floating on the water. The Mulberry Harbour, in bits.
But you didn't know what it was?
No, we didn't know what it was. Jeff knew, I think he knew. But and then, of course, it was too rough to use it, so they took Jeff and the lot of them in as far as they could go, and opened up the boat, and they went in to shore that way. But unfortunately, the Americans hadn't got that message through, not to use the swimming tanks, and about 20 of them went over, you know. On Gold Beach, the one below, they didn't get that message.
So when in the build-up beforehand,
Yeah.
when did you go down to be with grandfather, and how long before was that because you knew he was going, or when did you go down and meet up with him?
This is where I conceived Mike. And probably I left him there with Mother for 3 weeks a month. Yeah.
But where were you in the build-up? Because you were up here, and grandfather was posted to Dorset, or how did that work?
I was living with Dr. Gilbertson at Roker then, and then I decided I would go down before he went on D-Day. And
did you know that it was going to? I mean, how did you know that?
Well, we didn't know,
No.
definitely, but nobody talked about anything.
No.
And amazing, really, because I mean, there'd been all sorts of Irish people working and everybody else, but it never got back to the Germans.
But you knew something was going to happen, and you felt that you needed to go down. So did you go down by train?
Train.
Down to Southampton? London, yeah.
Crossed London, and all the people were in the tube stations, lying on the platform at night. And one time when I went through Southampton, it wasn't that time, it was before then, they'd had a terrible raid there on Southampton. And there wasn't a pane of glass in the place, you know.
And where was grandfather when you went down before D-Day? Where was he in a camp? Or?
Yes, Bovington, or Lulworth. That's where they had the courses down there.
And what courses were those? The amphibious
gunnery course,
yeah,
at Lulworth, and the headquarters of the tank regiment, really. But he was cavalry, see, but all mechanised. Mechanised in 1938.
And he had they done their amphibious landing
training.
practice there.
They did that mostly at places like Swanage,
Right.
and also on the East Anglian coast there,
Hmm.
and a place called Thetford there, up there. Just they were strange times to have lived through, really.
And what? How long did you stay with grandfather before? Were you there for a week or 2 weeks or?
Well, before that, yes, before that, you see, they were stationed at Keighley,
Hmm.
and then they were stationed up in Scotland for a while, and I went to lived with him whenever I could.
Hmm.
About 9 different places, actually.
In the build-up and the training.
Up, we were at a place called Langham up in Scotland. We were there for a while.
Was that when you had the Loch Tay adventure? Or was that no? That was when he came back on leave, wasn't it? You had a
Oh, a walk.
yes.
Yes. No, we went up to Loch Earn Head there for a break.
Hmm. Was that before D-Day or?
Before.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And there was something about wasn't there something about a tractor and trailer or an old?
That's right.
What
You
happened?
see, we stayed at the Drummond Arms at St Fillan's, which is on Loch Earn.
Hmm.
And we didn't have a car there, and we took the bus along to Comray and we walked over the top,
Hmm.
hoping that we'd get some sort of vehicle of some sort back to the hotel. And we had a mammoth walk over from Comray to Loch Tay. But we got there just as the last transport went to the Loch Earn Head,
Hmm.
or Killin it was called.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, walking up there, Jeff we started walking up there, you see, and anyhow, we finally got we were sitting on the bridge, I remember. Jeff was all for just staying the night, sleeping the night in the wood, and I said, no way. And so we sat on the bridge, and the tractor and trailer came along with a broken plough going to Loch Earn Head.
Yeah.
So we got a lift along
In the trailer.
on the trailer with the
Oh,
broken
fantastic.
plough. And so that was wonderful.
Yeah.
Hello. On horseback, and this is the gamekeeper's cottage, which isn't there anymore. And this is me on a horse, on a pony. This is me and my dad talking to the gamekeeper and his wife. And William was very, very interested because he had all photographs of the all their staff and everything. And he was just very, very interested to see them. And this one here, this is our gardener, Martin, and this is Bella, who was with us for over 50 years. And this is our cook, Lizzie. This is the gardener's children, who I used to be allowed to play with occasionally. And this is one of the governesses we had. which was Miss Davison. And she, before she came to us, worked for the Gilbertsons. Wasn't that funny? Yeah. I don't think I've got anything else really that'll interest you all that much.
Tell me who the people are in there.
This is their country house in Rothbury, Brackenrig. These are all of us. That's my granny in her house in Bournemouth. She lived in Bournemouth. And that's my dad. These are holidays that we had. This is me as a little bridesmaid.
Whose wedding was it? Remember?
Yes. It was Stan Dickinson's wedding. And they were Neville and Geoffrey, my cousins, my first cousins. It was his cousins. But there I am as a
Little bridesmaid.
yeah, little train bearer. These are my brothers with their dogs. And that red setter had 13 puppies.
Good heavens.
Yeah. That is me when I first went to school and I won the tennis cup.
Excellent.
And Mary today has had lunch with that person's son.
Really?
Yes, over at, there they are with their dogs. Do you see them? My brothers. This is my mum, and this is the house that was built for my parents, Elmside. These are just, this was when they went to, when they went and they took houses and things. This was one of the maids. She was called Elsie. She was lovely. Do you see all the amazing uniforms they had?
So what's going on here?
Well, this is just in the garden with the ponies, and that's my cousin Mary, and that's her brother John. That's me. This is all of us down in the Isle of Wight on Granny's birthday.
Down there?
Yes. At Buckler's Hard. That was. I've lived an awfully long time, haven't I, dear? Do look at the knickerbockers, my brothers,
Fantastic.
with another person who looked. I mean, we had. Now these
There,
are this is my grandfather Neth, John Neth.
Yeah.
That's his wife, and that's Auntie Bee, and she married in a navy blue costume. That's me.
Oh, look.
Interesting,
Lovely.
isn't it? These were a holiday we had at Banborough with some friends there, mother's friends, really.
Those are all you.
Yes. No, that's me when 7 months old,
Oh.
standing up. These are Mary, cousin Mary.
Right.
These are my brothers. See how they're dressed.
Yeah.
That was Allenmouth. We
Oh,
had
it's
one of
Allenmouth,
these.
right.
Yes. These are all just holidays. That's me. That's my brother Derek. That's me. With my brother John.
Up on the Bamborough coast again.
Yes. With the two boys, Derek. That's
Oh,
Derek
look,
and that's
yes.
John.
He must have been quite old then.
68 when he died.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks much older than that, doesn't he?
Well, he had the beard. He never,
Yes.
never cut his beard.
Right.
And this is all up at Rothbury. This is me. Interesting, aren't they? Very old photographs. Yeah. And are you off, my darling? And this is a lovely, this is a nurse. We had Blackie looking after us. Blackie, she was a trained nurse, you know.
Sun's End.
Yeah,
Oh, so that's over.
on the coast. Yeah.
Yes, just below
Yeah.
Staithes and
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Lovely.
This is another governess we had, Miss Smith. These are just all
Is that John?
John and me. Yeah. We're all in Macintosh sort of things. Now, Mum lived quite close in Newcastle to this, it's a half cousin, and there she is as a child there. And that, interesting, because her daughter married one of the Balfours, and they live up in Perth.
Mm.
And
Does Kate know them?
no, but she works. She's sort of in charge of the health centre in Comrie.
Oh, right.
Yeah. These
More
are
holidays.
these are all Rothbury. Yeah, interesting, aren't they?
That was at home.
Yes, that was Elmore. That's near Pittington it is.
In the rabbit hutch.
Yeah, just playing. Hmm. Interesting. That's mother and father, and that's me. Mother had a camera, and she used to take photographs. You know, this size they were. That's me
That's
as a
lovely,
child.
isn't it?
Child. Yep. Family from Dorset. Dorchester.
And who are they?
My granny married that chap.
Oh,
Yeah.
this one here. So he was your grandfather,
My great grandfather.
your great grandfather.
Yep.
And those are all Hardings.
Yes, and that's on the wall. That plaque is on the wall, and that is my great great grandfather.
Right.
Now this is it's the house. It's the place where Thomas Hardy was.
Yes.
Yes. And these are the graves of the.
The Hardys and the Hardings.
Well, yes, but Hardy, Thomas Hardy, was only a village boy. He used to sing in the choir,
Right.
and he fell in love with my granny's cousin, my granny's aunt. He fell in love with her, but they were completely different class, and he never even was allowed to speak to her. It was a sort of longing of love, and that sort of had a reaction on the whole of his writings, really. This class resentment that you know.
What was her name?
Her name was Louise Harding,
Right.
and they were called Harding. This is their house where they lived, but it's derelict when I took the photograph there. These are all, this is my great-grandmother,
Oh, and she was the Harding.
No, she was Kersley,
Oh, right.
but she
Oh, I
married
see. She
Harding.
married Harding. Yes.
And this is where they provided the Hardings owned land. They had about nearly 500 acres of farmland, and they were farmers. And they were yeoman farmers, really. They owned their own farms. And there she is again. There she is. But he, the previous generation, were into valuing and things like that. And the one that she married, which was this one,
Yes.
he in some way disgraced himself, and so she left him and left and went to live in London, and which was an unheard of thing in those days. But these are their children, and that is my granny Ness. There.
Oh, right.
Yep. Now they were left without any money, really, very much to live on, and within
Which two?
these two, with some, I think, either typhoid or something like that. Now this is my granny, and this is my grandfather, grandfather Ness. And there they
It's
are.
a very distinctive family look from her, isn't there?
Yeah. And these are just shortly after they were married. This was her first love. She fell in love and he died. This is, get my specs on.
Harold.
Harold. That's her brother.
Right.
Yeah, that's her brother too.
So your great uncle.
Yeah. Yes, great uncle. Now this is Granny, my granny.
Right.
And so she went out and trained as a nurse in Guy's Hospital.
Yes.
And this is a child she saved by giving him a tracheotomy.
Right.
And this is Granny again. This is her brother.
Now, was she the one that nursed Darwin, or
yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, I don't know much about it really, but she was the first of the district nurses going out from, and they could be hired to go out and nurse people. I think Darwin was he was a sort of semi-invalid for so long. He had masses of people nursing him.
So that was your granny. So my great grandmother,
That's right.
Nurse Darwin.
Yeah. There she is again. And this is Granny as a child. Now this is a funny one because this one here, this one, this is Jeff's cousin.
Oh, right.
And they were good friends of Mummy, my mum, and Auntie B.
Right.
And look at the dolls and things, aren't they
Yes.
amazing? And they lived up the river in Sunderland. They were called Pratt. And that's Auntie B and Mother. This is Mother. This is my granny's sister, Ethel, Aunt Ethel.
Right.
There she is. And on the back of that, she's written, Lonely Spinster.
Oh dear.
And that's Granny with her children. But she was 30 when she married. Now, these are the Ness family, and that's
Right.
John Ness.
So that's your
Grandfather.
paternal grandfather.
No,
No.
mother's.
Yeah, right.
Ness.
Ness, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting, aren't they?
They're not overly good lookers, this lot. I have to say.
And they came down from Fife
Right.
to be manager of that works.
Right.
Sir James Lang's works in Sunderland, building ships. From Pitt and Wen.
Right.
And
there's the ship.
There's the ship. And that was my grandfather's sister, Mary,
Yeah.
and she had a son, and he was on that ship as the captain when it was,
Was he Captain Jack?
yes.
Yes.
Well, it's Jeff at Durham School.
So how old's he there?
Well, he was there for his public school. He was there 4 years. That's Johnny, his brother, who became a doctor. And these are the twins. That's Richard, and that's Johnny.
So that's in his final. Is that final year? Here, or-
Yeah. Let me have a look. Durham School, yes. There he is.
Where is he? Oh, there. Yeah.
Now, this is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
This is, there's Jeff there.
Oh, in the background.
Yes.
Right.
And he was best man to Hope Story married Cress Byrne, and Jeff was the best man.
Who are they?
Well, Hope Story was Ben Hodgkins Aberhall's cousin,
Oh, right.
which is fascinating.
Yes. So just coincidence.
Yeah. And the Hoskins, Ben's father was the bishop of Knaresborough,
Right.
and he was one of the governors of the school I was at. So he used to come over quite a lot. I've spoken to him many times.
Hmm.
That was his father,
Right.
Ben's father, and Bennett's grandfather.
Right.
Yeah, but they were all, and the stories there. They owned the paper, the Sunderland Echo,
Right.
in Sunderland.
Is that how grandfather knew them?
No, we knew them, and we knew him because he was a fellow doctor with, his father was a doctor, and he became a doctor, and he was in partnership with Johnny.
Right. And there's Molly Dibb.
Yeah. No, that's Hazel.
Right.
That's Hazel, with her husband. He was a pilot, and she was. I haven't seen these for years.
She a wren?
Um,
Or
I think she was something.
Whack.
She was something to do with the flying. I've forgotten what it was exactly.
so is that Second World War? No, it's pre.
The second? No, second.
Second.
With her father. Oh, that's interesting. Molly Dibb. She was Jeff's first cousin.
Right.
Her mother. The daughter of Mary Crown, who was the eldest of the Crown family. That's Dr. Gilbertson, and that's Mater. This is Aunt Lil.
So that was grandfather's stepmother.
Yes. Meta, we used to call her. Let me have a look here.
What can
Yeah.
you tell me about Daddy Dog?
Daddy Dog, he was a lovely man that went through amazing tragedies in his life, really. Including losing a son. I think an appendix operation went wrong, really. He died, which was awful.
And how old was grandfather when his mother died?
He was 11. And Elizabeth, 9. Jimmy was 14. And Gilbert had all... no, Peter, the one that died, was called Peter. This is Jeff at his summer school, and that's Kaja. Kaja, yes. From Sweden he was, Stockholm.
What was he doing at the summer school?
Well, he had trouble in getting into Cambridge, and he was at a crammers, and they finally, he passed all the right exams, having taken them over and over again. He left there, and he had to fill in about 9 months before he went up to Cambridge.
Yeah.
So Dr. Gilbertson thought it would be a good idea if he went to the Sorbonne in Paris and learned to speak French. So off he went, and he was only there for about... He went and stayed within a family, but I think he gave him £100 to manage for the 6 months, and most of that had gone in that time. So Jeff decided that it could be a good idea if he went down to Brittany. So he went down to Brittany, and this is all in Brittany. He met these nice people. It was a lovely, and they had to promise not to speak any English.
So he was learning French,
He was learning French.
just in a cheaper environment.
Yeah, cheaper environment, and he stopped spending money in Paris and going to the opera and going.
And what's the boat at the bottom here?
Well, that's Jeff, isn't it?
Is that Durham?
No, I don't think so. Let me have a look.
It says Peter Bell in there as well. So.
Yeah, yeah. I can't just. This is Jeff. This is after Mike's birth. He came back from the army for 5 days. They gave him 5 days. Mike's birth, 5 days. Yeah. Then went back, and he'd just been through the most terrible fighting in Normandy, and he went back into it again.
So that was months after D-Day, or?
Yes.
So sort of jumping around in time a bit here.
Yes, it is.
So we don't know if the boat was Cambridge or must have been the school one. Was Peter Bell in his school
Yes.
8 as well?
Yes. That's Jeff there. After he would finished at Sandhurst.
So you got married before that?
Yeah. It was August, that's right.
August 1940.
just after we got married,
And where's Tarn House?
near Ambleside,
Oh, right.
near Hawkshead, really.
Oh, so you knew that? You knew it from
Yeah, yeah.
your childhood?
This is when I was, my gran lived in Bournemouth. That's when I was probably about 17.
That's when you got the telegram.
Yeah. This is the on side too. That's our honeymoon there.
Oh, that's a
And-
lovely
and,
one.
And this is after Mike was born, and I was at Southcliffe. Yeah,
So was that on grandfather's leave?
yeah, 5 days he had. Yeah,
And that was the honeymoon.
yeah. Now this is
Was that 5 days in total, or 5 days back with you?
5 days he had with me. This is Mother, and this is Auntie Peg, Sam Young's mother.
Hmm.
I ought to put that in, shouldn't I? That's me. That's Granny Ness, outside of her house. She had a most beautiful house in Bournemouth. That's me, and that's my brother, Derek. Yes, I ought to put more thing in it. And this is Auntie B's house in Bournemouth. Again, that'd be worth 2 or 3 million, you know, now. This is my mother in the garden at Elmside. This is me as a little girl. Look at my hair.
Where were you there?
I was going for a walk in the woods where I lived, really. And this is the side of our house. This is one of the ponies I had called Avarice.
No, that's not you on the pony.
No, that's me.
Yeah.
And that's Mary Hall.
Mary Hall.
And
Oh,
that's
right.
and that's John.
Yeah.
There's my gran.
What's the smile says Dot thing? Down there.
Hmm?
What's the smile says Dot?
I suppose. Well, this is Margot Cook, who is your mother's godmother, but she
Oh, right.
seems to have lost all touch with her. She'd be dead now.
Right.
And there she is again. I spent a lot of time with her. Now, not tomato sauce, but A1 sauce. It used to be, and her grandfather owned that company, so they were very well off, the people. This is when we were very much in love, when I was at school.
Where was that?
Down by the Tees.
Right. And what's the wedding at the bottom?
It's Marjorie McKee's wedding. Mum was at school with, this is me.
Yeah.
Mum was at school with
38. So how old were you in 38?
18,
So how old were you when you married then?
20. Now this is my first baby
It's Peter.
at Thorpe.
So he was in 41.
Yep.
So was grandfather still on training then, or had he?
He was on training. He was at, no, he wasn't. He'd joined his regiment by then.
Right.
And he was at a place called Thorpe Mandeville near Banbury.
That's where the rehabilitation centre is now.
Is that?
Yeah.
This is all Pete.
That's grandfather there with it.
Yeah.
So he'll be back on leave.
Back on leave for the christening, I think.
So were they doing the training for D-Day then, or was that?
Yep. They did all the experiments with those tanks, you know. Beautiful baby. That's my granny nest with Pete.
Oh, look. Yeah.
He's all Pete. 10 months old. Look at him walking. Now this is at
Well, he's a bit
Keighley.
older.
Yeah, this is at Keighley. I went to, they were stationed at Keighley. And so we took a house there.
So how old was grandfather then?
About 18 months. 20.
No, how old was grandfather?
Oh, grandfather. He'd be about 24, wouldn't he?
Right.
23.
So he was... Was he...
24.
How many years older than you was he?
18 months.
18 months,
Mm.
right.
This is Pete at Keighley.
So you moved around quite a lot.
Oh, it's a tremendous lot.
So every time he was restationed, did you move?
Well, I tried to go with him, and I went down to Suffolk. We took a house in Suffolk, belonged to Bobby Shafter, and he divorced his wife, and so we took the house. And
Was that the Bobby Shafter from the song?
yeah,
Good heavens, I didn't
Bobby
know he
Shafter
existed.
went to sea, silver buckles on his knee. He came back and married me. Hurrah for Bobby Shafter!
And you lived in his house?
Yeah.
Why was there a song about Bobby Shafter?
Well, they lived in Durham, really.
Right.
But he'd married this titled woman who'd been married twice before,
Right.
and I think it didn't work out. But he bought that house down there.
And people thought he was a sort of celebrity. So they sang a song about him.
That was years before the war.
Right.
Mm. This mother, this is Edinburgh again, Elmside. Mother with Pete. Mm. Haven't seen these photographs for years. That's at Keighley too. All these are Keighley with Pete.
He's looking quite busy there, isn't he?
Yeah. These are Dr. Gilbertson, myself, and there's Pete.
So he'd come down to see you there.
Pete.
But these are lovely, isn't it? It's a lovely one of him on the...
Yes, that's in Suffolk. This is Bobby Shafter's house.
Right, so this is when you moved down there.
Mm. And I became terribly ill. I got this actinomycosis in the bacterial
Oh dear.
disease in my, having had a wisdom tooth out.
Mm.
I got an infection into it, which
Oh,
was
dear.
terribly serious, really. And Mother came down, looked after him in Ipswich. We were having raids every night, you know, Sam. We were having German bombers over.
Were you anywhere near the flight paths and things? I mean, were they...
Yes. Yes. Ipswich. Crackers, really. That was 1940 and the Battle of Britain, really.
So that was going on over your heads while you were...
Yeah. And we were in Essex, you see, when I first joined him down there, before the children were born. And it was the Battle of Britain time, and it was very, very... one night we had these bombs. I've maybe told you this story, but they dropped 5 bombs. This had been another one. It had been on the house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this house belonged to a German, half German she was. And she was in the bedroom next to us, in her house. And this is where I was delivering the milk in the milk thing for the village, because we were all contributing. She had wonderful herd of Jersey cows, Anyhow, this particular night, this bomber came over and dropped the car before he. Jeff always said, well, he got too windy to go to London, so he dropped them on us. So. But fortunately, if there'd been another one, it had been on the house. So. Extraordinary times, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
And you sort of took it just as a matter of course. There's Jerry again, you know.
But you were right out in the countryside there.
On the edge of the Earl's Cone, it was called, in Essex. It was not far from Colchester, about 6 miles from Colchester, I suppose.
So they really were dropping the bombs in the middle of nowhere, though.
And of course, while we were down in Dorset and Bovington, we were right in the middle of where they were dropping the bombs, and then incendiary bombs. And one night we had a landmine in the garden that hadn't gone off.
Did somebody come and deal with it?
Well, the next day they did. And found it was a landmine that hadn't gone off. So. But meanwhile, we'd gone out. We'd gone out to my Lord Malmay's party. He'd asked us there to have dinner, and he'd come with his cook and and he'd taken a house down at Lulworth Cove. Do you know that area? You do?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he'd taken the house at Lulworth Cove, and we were living then at between Wareham and Wool, a place called East Stoke, and we didn't have a car, so I went on a motorbike, and it was they changed every night for dinner still, so I had a long frock on. And I got on the back of the motorbike.
Right side saddle?
No. But we had to go through a couple of water splashes on the way. Oh dear. Anyhow, we arrived there, and Anthony Malmay, such a lovely man, doing the course with Jeff at Lulworth in gunnery, and he said, "Well, I hope you don't mind, but we've got ox's heart for supper." From his farm, they brought the ox's, so we all ate ox heart. But you see, meat was very short.
Yeah.
Couple of ounces a week, wasn't it, or something?
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary times I've had in my life. This is Pete, little lovely ones of Pete. They are lovely.
Getting older.
Yes.
So what happened to the Dorothy? Do you know?
It was sunk in the Mediterranean off the coast of Sicily, and the captain of the ship was grandfather's nephew, Jack Wilson, and it had the French troops on board, and most of them were saved. There were only 6 people actually killed, but it was a torpedo, so it was
So when would that have been then?
1917, yeah,
Right. Okay.
towards the end of the war really. Now that's his mother. She was called Dorothy, and she was the one that launched the ship. Yeah.
So was the ship named after Dorothy?
Yes, she launched the ship, and it was Dorothy.
Oh, okay.
And she was he was going to, grandfather was going to order another ship from Thompson's, but the war came along, 1914, and so that was never built.
How did the ship model come about then?
Well, I think they always made models of
Mm.
ships, and it must have been a great art, I think. Yes,
So has that been in your families for
as
since
long
you
as
was
I
baby?
can remember. It was there when I was born. It was restored by his father, at least he got it restored really, because mother gave up the bigger house when father died, and gave the ship to my daughter Margaret, who is called Margaret Crown, Jorgensen, and because you see the Crowns owned the land where the Glass Museum is.
Mhm.
I tried to get them re-silvered, but they said they couldn't do them because the metal underneath is not going to be receptive. So I thought, well, I'll just keep them where they are, keep them brightened up. But they've, I think I've probably polished them too much, don't you think?
I think they look lovely.
So do you think they would have been used on the ship?
Yes,
Or-
they
yeah.
were. Yes, they were on the ship, and then when it was commandeered, you see, by the War Office. It used to go between Sunderland and South America, mostly, and tea and things like that used to bring. Yes, but at one point it went aground over in there, and they almost gave it up. They couldn't get it off this. It had gone onto the rocks and goodness knows what over there. And they had one final go when the tide was up, and they got it away and back home. So that was that. My husband retired. He became the chairman of the shipbuilding before it was nationalised. That's my husband.
Ah, wow.
Because you see, they were all involved with shipping, because my husband's grandfather was Jackie Crown, who was the owner of where you people have your glass museum. The Crowns, they've been in Sunderland for generations, I think. And on the seafront at Roker, you've been down there?
Mm.
Well, you see Crownville, Crown is where all the Crowns lived when they were all young. And Jackie Crown was quite a character, I think. He was well known in the yard, because he owned that yard that's now the Glass Museum. And they say that he used to get so excited when there was a launch.
Mhm.
And the yard is actually next door to the Thompsons' yard. You probably know that. But he used to get so excited that he went in after the ship till his top hat floated on the river.